Howdy YouTube people. I'm here today working on my buddy Sean's E46. And first on the chopping block for this thing is installing an SLR Mini Kit. So yeah, I'm just gonna jump right into it. Nice welded diff to go in there. Shout out to Pop's Garage for welding that up for him. We're going to be doing all the rear end and subframe reinforcements, contour bushings, getting some front spacers, gonna throw some rear camber arms on, and then we will replace the guibo and the center support bearing. And after all that, he should have himself a drift car. So first off, gotta remove basically all steering components but the rack itself. Gonna want to get these control arms out of here. And so I already did a little bit of work on this. I'll throw some of the old clips I took in the process. I've already kind of test fitted everything. But you need to remove the outer ball joint from the factory control arms, which I kind of walked through that on other videos. I will throw them in here. So when we're installing the SLR Mini Kit, you obviously have to take this control arm off. It's honestly a good idea to replace your inner tie rod as well, because it's most likely all worn out. You gotta remove this completely, install everything on the knuckle. I'll show that again. But this outer ball joint gets replaced with a spherical bearing. So I have them in the freezer, so it's kind of shrinking up to be a little bit easier to press in. You kind of have to cut this outer housing back off. Got to cut it the whole way around, and then hopefully kind of have to do a little bit of grinding, and then it all should come out this way. Got the expensive safeties today. Let's pop it out of there. Yeah, a little hot, but took that off. And supposedly all this should press right out. Okay, so we got the backside cut out. Now I have a rotor set up just to kind of support this, and then we're gonna press right on the stud. Hopefully this will press the whole end out. Okay, like that. Get the boot out of there. I think the wrong part might have come out. Okay, so we got the ball joint out, all the metal. Now, anyway, you please get all the rubber out of there. So I'm back the next day. I kind of cut it short early, but we got one of the spherical bushings in. Working on the second one. I found it easiest. I kind of cut a little slit here. It was really tight. Just enough to split that and kind of beat it in with some chisels. You really have to grind this bottom lip down a good bit to be able to get this lip free. It's the way it's designed. It kind of covers this lip, so you get in there and grind that away. Grind this piece away because it kind of covers this up a little bit. So you free that up, and then it's pretty easy to get out from there. We'll get our bushing out of the freezer and press this one in. Got our control arm in here. Got that spherical bushing all but in. We're just gonna finish it up. You're gonna want to use, what do I have in here? I have a 36mm socket, which is like the perfect size for this bushing. And you just want to press it down till it's in flush.
So release that here. Get that piece on flush.
So now we have two control arms ready to install in the car. We are, however, just waiting on Drift HQ to send us the front control arm mounts. They're the adjustable ones from SLR. We accidentally got the round bushings instead of the the hex bushings to fit on there, so we sent them back and are waiting for them to come in. Went ahead and wire wheeled these things for Sean, get them all clean, get that cleaned up so all our threads don't catch. Went ahead and took a wire wheel to the stud here. The nut was super tight coming off, a little bit rusted up in there. And that's pretty smooth, but for good measure, I'm gonna pop this in the vise and wire wheel it out too.
The insides of these threads go down through. One more. They're looking pretty clean in there.
Nice things going pretty nice. But you do that, get these nice spherical joints in here, and that will replace the outer ball joint and will attach to these on the knuckles. So everything in your kit right here, these blocks go on the knuckles themselves. Tie rods go into here, control arm to here, and this just bolts into the knuckle. Here we have the tie rod tube. Always a good idea to get new inner tie rods for these. Obviously, either order a new boot or swap your old ones. But tube to the inner and then to our end link there. And before you start, honestly, you should kind of anti-seize literally like everything in here, so it's very easy to service and easy to remove if need be. And it'll be easier for your buddies to align you at the shop. We got our tie rods here, and we got anti-seize basically all over them. So I'm going to start actually by putting the boots on. We just reused the old boots because they're still in good enough shape. Obviously you're going to want to put a hose clamp on these. Next we put our stop nut on the tie rod here. We're going to thread that the whole way. Then next we'll take our tie rod tube here and thread that on. So we'll feel that bottom out, kind of back our nut up to match. Now we want to take our end link, and it is reverse threaded, so you're going to spin counterclockwise and spin this in the whole way. Great, set that aside and do the next one. Set that aside here. So if you're using the factory control arms like you do in the mini kit, make sure you select the hex bushings for E46, because obviously that's a hex, that's a hex. So we'll kind of set these to the side for now. First order of business is getting these knuckle blocks installed. So now what you're going to do is remove these top side pieces, top side nuts on that side, take the washer off. I'm going to take this bolt out here. Just keep that nut kind of in place there though. And for obvious reasons, right is passenger side, left will be the driver's side. So we're gonna start kind of throwing the stud up through the knuckle, flat side of your washer down, put your nut on there, and you can either do it by tightening it, or my preferred method is just kind of take this hammer, and you're gonna want to seat that stud a while so it kind of stays in place. And we'll take this up here, get our nut in the bottom side. There's a little cutout insert inside of the block here, and we're going to drop our bolt down through to kind of till we hit the nut. Now we're gonna need to thread from the top side.
This up here.
This is a 19, this is a 22 millimeter. We'll finish that tightening these up later. So we'll go ahead and do our other side over here.
Start with that stud. Again, tighten that. So now we're gonna get.
And we are going to get it threaded into the rack. Maybe. They're always just a little tricky. So that's in snug. We'll come back and tighten that later. Our brass fitting up on the top. We want it in the outer set of holes here. Just double check that. Get our bottom side fitting in. Get those in, start your nut.
And we'll get that tightened up. Again, just kind of snug.
It's important to have all of this threaded inside, so when you go to make the adjustments, it'll kind of push both these away. So you're gonna have a really towed in setup to start. So this here is my BFW, big freaking wrench, and we're just gonna go ahead and give these inner tie rods a tighten. Obviously we'll go back and finish them later. Get our BFW here. Give that a nice snug. And the nut. Going to, like I said, make sure these are threaded in the right, or seated in the right holes. Boom. So again, you'll see there's little holes under here. Now they're covered, but you want the holes closest to the back side here. But there's your tie rods, and like I said, we twist this for adjustment, but for now we want it threaded the whole way in. You'll see why in a little bit. Okay, so now that we have the tie rods and the knuckle piece on, you're going to want to install the control arm, but you want to install these control arm mounts and bushings first. Little trick, put a little Dawn dish soap on these ends here, get them a little bit slick so it's easier to kind of smack them down on. I left them here. They may need to go forward and back just a little bit of adjustment depending on when you fit them up. We'll see here in a second. Okay, so again, we'll take a little Not much, just a little bit of Dawn here. Kind of lube that thing up a little bit. Make sure it's not too much so it dries alright. So there's two different ends. There's kind of a fat end here and a narrow end. So you kind of want this this fat end to go towards the control arm. Again, just kind of smack down with the mallet a little bit. You don't want to go too crazy for now. We'll see how it mounts up. But they're gonna kind of sit, loosen that up. From my understanding of Denofa spec, you kind of want these threaded as far as they'll go and still mount. So that's how we're gonna set these up. Okay, so now we'll take a crack at getting this control arm all mounted up here. Arm stud up through the subframe. Kind of loosely get a bolt thrown in it. So it looks like these will probably have to come in more. Probably have to beat in more this way. Okay, so you're gonna want to get this, make sure it's kind of seated flat against here. There's kind of some pegs that stick out from the holes, but now we got that seated flat. We'll go ahead and we should be able to hand thread these a good bit. I did clean out the holes. So kind of got roughly like 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of the back of the control arm sticking out there. But okay, those are snug. We'll get a wrench in here.
Hold it tight.
Okay. Now, our next step will be over here on the knuckle end. We'll actually put our seats in a while, just make things a little smoother. Okay, that's how we do it. Get our nut started on there. Ah, please don't come off. There we go. Cool. Here's that. Wonderful. So that's all hooked up, looking good. Now we just need to go through and make sure everything's snug. And for convenience sake, we'll just use our old BFW friend here. Big freaking wrench. Always handy to have one of these. It is big, bulky. Can use it as a hammer. It's great for busting tie rods loose. There's that one. Okay, so there's our complete setup. You want to put the control arm into that subframe first. You want to come back here, make sure your mount is flush, and make sure you do not strip these bolts. It is a nightmare if you run into that. Go ahead and get all that together, then you want to attach to the knuckle out here, and boom, and you end up with one side complete. So we'll go ahead and do the next. Hey, what's up everybody? We got Sean's front end all wrapped up. Got some spacers on there, got the SLR Mini Kit, which actually ended up turning out with a decent amount of angle for what the kit is. Really not bad.